How do you have a legal system which is presided upon by compromised and corrupt judges? Not all judges are compromised and corrupt, but in particular in the federal legal system, since they're appointed through campaign contributions and other forms of legalized bribery, it is a real problem. But you also have the problem on the state bench in certain states. States like New York, highly leftist states. You've got judges like Judge Marchand, who's presiding over the sham of a trial with regard to hush money with Donald Trump. And then there was Judge Engoron, who also presided upon another sham trial dealing with alleged overvaluation of Trump's assets to get business loans. We have filed 2 complaints against Marchand and Engoron. There'll be more complaints coming with regard to another judge, another compromised and corrupt judge, Tanya Chutkan, of the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, who's made several statements equating J6 defendants, even peaceful ones, to Donald Trump, saying that he's the reason that our democracy has been destroyed. How can she sit on a criminal case against Donald Trump with regard to January 6th? This is more than a mockery of a sham of 2 mockeries of a sham of a travesty, as Woody Allen would say. This is a very highly dangerous situation when the American people do not have judges who will do the right thing, stand in their stead, and be ethical. Because without that, we're headed into a potential violent revolution. We at Freedom Watch will seek to prevent that. We have our own citizens' grand juries and citizens' trials. We do things peacefully and legally. But the fact is that our judicial system and our legal system as a whole is the most corrupt profession and system in this country and perhaps even worldwide. Is it any accident that the overwhelming majority of politicians are lawyers? And I'm a lawyer too. I'm an anti-lawyer. I fought against this my entire career. You have corrupt bar associations in New York and District of Columbia. It's corrupt top to bottom. You have corrupt people on Capitol Hill. You've got a head of a judiciary committee who takes no action with regard to these judges. Jim Jordan shoots his mouth off on Fox News, but takes no action at all. So you've got to ask yourself the question, how can a free society function without a legal system that will right the wrongs and the redress as provided to the American people? And that is a problem. And then, of course, we have Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton has said that Donald Trump wants to be a dictator like Putin, and in fact, he will kill his opponents. Well, isn't that interesting? 80 people died, most of them material witnesses, during the Clinton years. Most of them would have testified against them. Anybody with any actuarial background knows that that's not all law of averages. Jeffrey Epstein, quote, committed suicide in prison when he had the goods on Bill Clinton with about 25 trips to his fantasy island to have sex with underage kids. Epstein being, in effect, a high-level pimp, and the customer being Bill Clinton. Hillary Clinton now says Donald Trump is going to kill people, when in fact most people believe that she's the one who ordered the death of people who could testify against her and her husband. And now we also have the anti-Semitism running all over, particularly the Ivy League and other schools like Berkeley in California. On the days of Passover, it is quite telling. Well, who fomented that anti-Semitism in large part? It not just was the anti-Semites, but Biden himself has perpetrated it by trashing Israel recently, playing both sides of the fence, talking about moral equivalency between Hamas and the Israelis. And you also have the Jewish left, which has fomented anti-Semitism against other Jews with their actions, their socialist, communist, and other actions, which people are seeing and they resent. And this is a terrible precedent, not just for the Jewish people, but for all people in this country. We live in a situation not dissimilar from the days leading up to World War II in Nazi Germany. And like I said, it doesn't just extend to the Jewish people. It's across the board, because if you're bigoted towards one group, then you're bigoted towards them all. That's my message for today. Go to freedomwatchusa.org. The world is in turmoil. We're on the verge of potential nuclear holocaust with what's going on with regard to Russia and Ukraine, with regard to the Middle East, with regard to what the communist Chinese may do in Asia. We live in precarious times. And while I don't tell you who to vote for, and while I don't tell you what the result will likely be, the fact is the American people need to rise up on their own, peacefully and legally, to restore independence, to restore justice, to restore fairness, to restore Judeo-Christian values to this country. And that's the biggest threat, because Judeo-Christian values are crumbling. We, without a moral compass, without principles, will not survive as a nation much longer until we invoke the divine providence and ask God with his help that we can help ourselves to save this great nation. I'll be back tomorrow with another special podcast. Remember, the Father and Son will only help us if we help ourselves. We have no legal system. We don't have honest judges that will get to the problems of the American people. We must now do it for ourselves. There is no political messiah, whether it's Donald Trump or anybody else. It rests upon we the people to save this country. Go to freedomwatchusa.org, contribute with tax-deductible contributions, freedomwatchusa.org. We are your real Justice Department. I'll be back tomorrow with another special podcast. Until then, thank you for listening to me.